and we couldn't have celebrated everything we are today if it wasn't for Mom. So in the beginning, when Dad began his career, Mom took the lead in raising the five of us and in managing a household of seven. And as an adult now, knowing what it's like to just help raise two and to help with a household of four, I could only imagine what it was like with five and with seven. And I'm sure you did it on a budget that was a lot more restrictive than what we have been dealing with for a while. So and then when all the raising was done, or almost done, you relocated to Florida. I know that was hard. You both sacrificed. You both left friends and family behind. You know, it wasn't easy, and there was probably a lot of hard nights, but you did it. So we are incredibly grateful to you, Mom. This victory is just as much yours as it is Dad's. That you deserve to be honored and cherished and celebrated, just as we were celebrating Dad.
All right.
Okay, so now on to Mr. Dad. Let me say a few words. First of all, I don't know if you remember this, Dad. For some reason, this stuck out at me, but I'll tell all you kids can hear this too. So, does anybody ever ask you what you want to be when you grow up?
Yes.
Because Dad asked me one time, when I must have been in middle school, or maybe like May's or Sadie's age, someone asked me, Dad asked me, what did I want to be when I grew up? And I forget my answer. Whatever I gave, it wasn't that big of a deal. But then I turned it back on Dad. I joked and I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, laughing, I want to be a philanthropist.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. I do. So a philanthropist, if you don't know it, girls, is somebody who has a lot of money that they made and they love to give it away to charity. And so look at that. Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
That's where we're going.
So let me say a couple more things about Dad, and I won't keep this too long here. But does anybody remember, the younger generation here, does anybody know what Dad's nickname was growing up? Tree, that's right. I don't think we never called him Tree. That's Jake's nickname too, so we'll keep it going. We never called him Tree. I don't think I even remember anybody calling him Tree to his face. Maybe at a pit game or something, you, Bri, I never did. But so my biggest recollection of that nickname is one of our old computers at the old house had a dial-up internet login, and it was Tree with a bunch of letters after numbers after it. So that's what I remember about Tree. But as I was home thinking about in Albany what I wanted to say here today, I couldn't get the idea of Tree in my head. I was just like, that's what I want to talk about, Tree, Dad and Tree. And as the more I thought about it, it was because we have so many great memories of all of us together having fun, interwoven with Mom and Dad at the edge of the woods, doing things related to trees. And so there is, of course, me and Brian and Ken. I think Carrie was too young to go in the woods and walk in the trails and try to find sticks and pretend they were swords. And Ken, you probably remember this, but the best stick of all was a sword, was one Brian found. I think it was some old root. It was like a root of a tree. So the other ones would break, and Brian's never did. So we thought his was the best. We of course remember the swing set, and we remember Mr. White's and the tractor that we borrowed. So his dad got the chainsaw and would saw up all the trees, and we would hop in the back of the tractor. He would haul the wood. I still remember the clanking of the sound of sitting in that tractor, the wood, the clanking in that tractor. It just hit me. So this isn't all ancient history either. It's like last year we took Dad and Mom with us to Lake Placid. And we really wanted to take him to Lake Placid because it just, I knew Dad would be in his glory. We have campfires and the landscape and trees all around us. I knew that would be great. And then, today, even every day, I'm lucky enough to walk May and Jane to school. And May walks ahead of me to the door with her friends. Jane and I walk hand in hand. We walk right underneath this beautiful maple tree. And it's the first to change every year, and it's always orange and green, very orange, vibrant colors. And I always look at it, and I think Dad would love to look at this tree because he loves the foliage. I think about it all the time. I don't know why. And I even say that to the girls. I said, Dad, Pap would love this. This was awesome. So, obviously, that's a powerful symbol for me. It's a powerful image. So with that in mind, I wrote something. And it has to do with Dad, and it has to do with trees. So I hope you like it. This is a story, girls, right? So to me, there's something about that symbol. There's something about that image. I'll tell you something. With each day's sunrise, I look outside and I see a version of the same story unfolding. It's a story you know well, and perhaps you see for yourselves from the windows of your homes. Somewhere in the yard, in the shade of a tree, squirrels begin their day. They search for food, they hoard it, they hide it, they forget about their work, and they start a new search. They squabble with one another, they chase one another up the tree and down again. They scramble to the high limbs at the slightest hint of danger. Above, birds chatter from the branches. They sing to their kin. They make various announcements to the world. They construct nests, they keep watch, they coordinate with their brothers. If the tree is high enough, the fierce hawk may even make its home there. It soars on currents of air, and when its flight is finished, it returns to the stability of the treetop nest. The story we witness is nature's commotion. It's a dance set to music, with all the players improvising their parts. But at the center of it all, making all this possible, is the tree. And here's why I'm telling you all this. You see, Dad's nickname Tree is perfect. Whether in his career, in his church, or in his family, Dad is a mainstay. He's a fixture of the ecosystem. He's a stately maple and a 70-year pine, presiding over the field. He has lived his life as a benefactor, providing shelter and nourishment for those under his canopy, even if they sometimes forget about him or take him for granted. Although he rarely calls attention to himself, his presence is tall enough and stable enough for even the most ambitious hunters to cast their lot with him. And like the sinewy roots of an oak and Brian's stick, Dad's principles and values anchor him to the earth. His ethics hold deep, as strong as iron. And it is because of these roots, these principles, that he can stand straight, that he can stretch far enough to reach the sun. And yet, as relentless as those roots are, Dad understands that above the ground, the strongest branches are alive and flexible, not rigid. It's the green branches that weather the most fearsome gusts. As my siblings and I know from our days finding sticks in the woods, the green branches are the hardest to break. Dad lives as the green branch, always learning. He embraces new ideas and he rejects dogma. He welcomes curiosity, he cherishes diversity, and he has no patience for defeatism or closed-mindedness or an insular view of the world. In literature, in mythology, and in art, the tree symbolizes life, nourishment, wisdom, and grace. In the book of Genesis, trees are the origin of human story. And biologists know that the oldest living organisms on Earth are the ancient bristlecone pine trees, which live in a national forest in the mountains of California. One such tree, known as the Methuselah tree, is 5,000 years old. I'd like to travel to see it one day. It was a seedling when humans were first beginning to craft pottery and bronze metal. It's older than the pyramids, older than Stonehenge, and it's alive. The bristlecone pines live on rocky, ash-like soil. They have adapted to live in this harsh environment where few competitors dare to grow. Life is too difficult for them. There are much easier places to be and paths to take. And thus these pine trees, which are prepared for this arduous, Spartan existence, have been able to stake their claim and thrive uncontested for millennia. There's a lesson there. All in all, the tree is a powerful and joyous image, and it's a fitting name for Dad. So with that symbol in mind, let us stand in the shade and laugh with one another, and let us learn from him and never take him for granted. May this tree of a man sway gently in the wind and tower over our landscape for all seasons, as life in his likeness sprouts anew and flourishes. Thank you.